Yam Shaiva Samupasate Shivaiti Brahmeti Vedandino Buddha Buddhaiti Pramana Padavaha Karteti Nayayigaha Arhan Nityatha Jaina Shasanarataha Karmeti Mimamsagaha Soyamvo Vidadhadu Vanchita Phalam Trailokyanatho Harihi Soyamvo Vidadhadu Vanchita Phalam Trailokyanatho Harihi. Madhya Hridaya Kashe Sadanandamayo Guruhu Udetu Satatam Samyak Ajnanati Mirarunaha. Hari Om Hari. All of you sit erect, closing the eyes, but opening the mouth and heart. Join me in reciting the auspicious monosyllable, which activates particularly the heart and the brain in a very austere, sublime, wholesome manner. Hari Om Tats Jai Guru. We are continuing to discuss the subject personal fulfillment and professional excellence. The 2-day exposure that we have been able to provide must have made it amply clear that whether it is a fulfillment on the one hand or a professional excellence on the other, the right source to be touched, activated, improved upon, refined and expanded is our own inner personality. When does fulfillment result is an important question. It cannot be a transitory fulfillment, an occasional one or a momentary one. It cannot be a fulfillment on a day, a particular time or with reference to an event. We must have a life of a fulfilling nature and character. Is there any way of living and working in this world which will enable us to have a fulfilling pursuit? Make the whole life a fulfilling pursuit. In whatever manner you discuss it, fulfillment is a kind of an emotional evolute or an emotional treasure, you can say. I would like to say it is something of a wholesome, sublime and exhilarating nature. Whenever you feel a sense of fulfillment, it's actually an experience. Every experience we have found does not belong to or rest in the body. Our body itself is experienced by the mind. Then what about other things like fulfillment, contentment, delight, fullness, abundance, affluence and the like? Everything is in the form of an inner experience generated and preserved by the inner mind and the inner intelligence. So what is the art and the process of developing this kind of a fulfillment as a constant coordinate in our inner personality? It's a kind of a culture, a kind of a cultivation, a kind of a reformation, a refinement brought about by some kind of an insight that we are looking for. Our very evaluation about life will have to undergo a radical change. We should also understand what exactly is the complex world. Life itself is an interaction between the individual, we have understood it very clearly, and the world around. The individual continues to be the same, only the world constituents, they appear to be transforming or changing. So we have to have the right focus on the individual. In this context, I said, Bhagavad Gita gives us a very beautiful illustration, an explanation as to how everything about the mind can be tackled. I always carry a kind of a heart pain in myself. Do you know why? We have a great epic treasure in our land. I told you yesterday that Ramayana as well as Mahabharatam are not at all religious books. I would like you to understand them as a historic record of the human behavior, human character and human interaction in the world in which you and I are living now. Citing the instances of predecessors who lived very long back in history, I would like to say in prehistoric times they were living. And citing all those instances, both Valmiki, Ramayana author, and Vedavyasa, the Mahabharata author, is trying to propound the values and enrichments and empowerments of human life. I am very particular about these words. They are discussing values. Any value, if it is worth mentioning, the value will have to relate to the human mind and human intelligence. I would even go to the extent of saying, a value, if it has to be so, will have to evoke an emotional persuasion on the one hand and intellectual compulsion on the other. As long as the values are not able to touch the mind and the intelligence of the people, evoking, as I said, persuasion from the mind and compulsion from the intelligence, we cannot call them a value at all. In as much as the human mind and the human intelligence, the emotions the mind generates and the reasoning and rationality the intelligence gives rise to, they have not undergone any change whatsoever. The values discussed by Mahabharatam on the one hand and Ramayanam on the other continue to be eternally relevant to the human inner personality. Am I clear? That is why I thought of quoting the epic instances and the epic characters. I said Bhagavad Gita is an administrative gospel, it is a political gospel. It was delivered by Krishna, an administrator, and it was sought by Arjuna, another administrator, for an administrative purpose. Yesterday I discussed it. The kind of a pain or agony that I am suffering from is that, in spite of a number of intellectuals in this country who are honored even in the whole world, there is a gap existing between our intellectuality and the epic treasure that is of immense value and relevance to the intellectual community. You all always dispose of Ramayana is a religious writing, Mahabharata is a religious writing. Not at all so. Valmiki has spoken only about the prince and the king Rama. If Rama was not a prince and he was not a king, Valmiki would not have penned his biography at all. In the same manner, Vyasadeva would not have penned Mahabharatam if it did not relate to the decline and fall of the Kuru dynasty. Understand it very well. Without an administration, no society can ever live. The society is able to live with freedom, their choices, their pursuits, their promotions, their welfare, etc., only when there is a rule of law, and there must be a good rule. That is why these sage authors thought of writing on the rulers of the times, but they were discussing the behavior of the people. Now this gap between the intellectual community and the epic treasure that we have, I have been trying in my own way to bridge the gap as much as possible. I think to a large extent I have succeeded, but I am only an individual. I can speak only with one mouth and speak from one platform at a time. But if the whole intellectual community of the country will have to be aroused from their slumber, the chronic slumber that they are suffering from. Here is a book of values, time-tested values. And they can make the human mind to any extent glorious, powerful, resilient, victorious. To any extent the mind can be developed by our values. Unfortunately, we are not aware of them. 60 years have passed after independence, even more than that. Even now we have not identified the cultural and the value-oriented India that we are. We still don't know. We only know something about the economic welfare. What about the psychological, the intellectual, the cultural, the psychic welfare of the individual and the society? You know, between the body and the mind is the cause, the mind is the activator, and the body is actuated upon by the people, by the mind. So which is more important? Unless we have an enrichment, an empowerment, an enlightenment, always to guide us, our pursuits and promotions will be misplaced. Let us be very clear about it. So why is it that in spite of the intellectual giants that our people are, they are not turning over the pages of our history as presented in Ramayana and Mahabharata and try to know how they can imbibe these values? Yesterday I introduced you Vasishtha speaking to Sri Rama. I go back to refer to one or two points that Vasishtha has said. Vasishtha was exhorting Sri Rama. Listen to it. Simanam sarva dukkhanam apadam koshamuttamam bijam samsara vrikshanam prajnamandyam vinashayet. Are you able to picture the imagery? The beautiful Ayodhya palace. And in the hall of the palace, Rama, supposed to be the crowning prince, he is there. In front of sage Vasishtha, Vishwamitra and the others. And surrounding the people, you will find the parents are there, ministers are there, citizenly chiefs are there, so many people are there. And Rama confessed the trouble and torment of his heart, and Vasishtha is answering. And he says, Simanam sarva dukkhanam apadam koshamuttamam bijam samsara vrikshanam. The entire metempsychosis called world or worldliness, all the dukkhas and miseries that we have and all the dangers and calamities that we have, understand the root cause of everything is prajnamandyam. Are you intellectuals ever familiar of a word called prajnamandyam? Do you have really an English translation for this word? I don't think you have. Prajnamandyam means it is a kind of a stultified consciousness that people have. A stagnating one, a stultified one. The prajna is not sufficiently recognized. The power of consciousness, the presence of consciousness, the potentials of the consciousness, the magnitude of the consciousness, the extensiveness of the consciousness, the subtlety, the super subtlety of it, how it is able to act upon the material world, the visible world. It is consciousness that has created the material world. They are not able to understand. So the prajna is a kind of a stultified nature of our intelligence by virtue of which we probe into matters and know the truth of everything. That prajna, that's intellectual slumber. That slumber is responsible for all kinds of troubles. Therefore, what should be done? Listen. Eva yatna karta kriyade bahyarthobarjane janaihi saeva yatna kartavyaha purvam prajna vivardhaye. My dear Rama, you are only 16 years old. You have completed all the lessons in archery and you are prepared to fight your enemy to any extent. I agree. But all this fight will be possible only when you have your mind stable, poised, determined and resolute. These qualities of the mind, who has trained you for them? Have you undergone any training? So you understand? Eva etna kriyate bahyarthobarjane janaihi. Initially we all take up, our education also is geared for employment, profession. And what maximum income you can get from India or outside India? These are the questions before taking up a choice subject. So whatever effort is made in order to earn economic prosperity, he says, before that the same effort should be directed towards prajna vivardhaye, to improve your inner mind intelligence, their resourcefulness, their potentials, their working pattern. This is what he says. Am I clear or not? Now you are bringing up your children. I am asking you, every parent who is seated here, have you made any effort to educate your child with regard to the mind, intelligence, their potentials and possibilities? You yourself don't. Then how can you educate them? We have a body, very limited body, but the mind within the body is not so. Now the point is, you cannot have excellence merely as an outcome. You have to incorporate the quality of excellentiality in you as a person. When the mind becomes excellential in its behavior, when the intelligence becomes excellential in its perception, in its perceptiveness, then you will find you will be able to perform anything in an excellent manner. The quality has to be a constant coordinate of the subject mind and the subject intelligence. Then only in the object front you will be able to perform and pursue anything tenaciously in a very beautiful, organized manner to the extent of getting perfection at the end or even in the process. Now, as I told you yesterday as well as day before yesterday, I will describe to you the whole of human personality, presenting in a graduated manner what are the different layers of your personality and what is greater, superior, and where can we find the most superior or the most high. Are you ready for it? So listen to me. This is a slogan from Bhagavad Gita. I told you the war gospel. Indriyani paranyahu indriyebhyah param manaha manasastu para buddhi yo buddhayohe paratastu saha. All of you are feeling, what Swamiji can I do? I am only one person, one individual. What can I mean? It is something like what? Putting sugar in the seas. An individual effort. You know, your whole individual, lakhs and millions and trillions of cells are there. Like that you can compare the society as a human body and an individual as a cell. If the cell becomes poison, don't you think the whole body will become poison? Similarly, when a cell is healthy, it contributes to the health of the society, of the whole body, like that. An individual's character and behavior is going to determine and influence the character and behavior of the society. Now, if you think that you as an individual is weak, lesser, smaller than the world, this Swamiji on behalf of our great culture has to exhort you to understand in a different manner. Rewrite your assessment. Remake your evaluation. Come to an altogether new assessment. Here is it. I told you that life is an interaction. Interactions alone will bring about experiences. Experiences undergoing a mystic transformation alone become knowledge and memory available to us whenever we want. So in all your interactions, you as an individual remain a constant factor and you interact with your senses. Now we have very small eyes. The ears are bigger, mouth is bigger, nose also in a way bigger. Every organ is bigger than the eyes. We have a pair of them, very small. No, you call small eyes. But do you know the power of these eyes? An eye specialist told me years back that the far point of the eye is infinity. Do you agree or disagree? What? Thoda boliye na. The far point of the eye is infinity. If you place a sizable object at infinite distance, our naked eye will be able to see. Are not our eyes seeing at night so many different stars which are at indeterminable distances in the space? Our small eyes, without going anywhere, are able to picture and form an imprint. In the mental plane, the mind is able to form an imprint of these objects. So come along with me, let us go to a hilltop and you take a grand look all around. How much of distance you will have perceived and how much of variety you would have comprehended. An infinite distance and an infinite variety stand comprehended in your mind. You have never gone anywhere. You know, a mirror reflects you, but the mirror can only reflect distances. But the mirror cannot reflect expanses. Suppose a 2 feet mirror, wide mirror is there. It cannot give a reflection beyond that. In the case of the eye, it is not so. It can see a mustard, it can see a mountain, it can also see the expansive sea and finally the endless space. Now, how do you say the eye is very small and you see an infinite variety and an infinite expanse? Can the eye contain them? There must be some doctors here. The eye physically cannot contain them. The eye is able to help the vision and the entire image is getting formed in our mind. So in the mind, if the endless sky and the space stands reflected and experienced by the mind, what should be the magnitude of the mind? Is it something small or huge? Onnu parayanappa. I want you to say yes or no. What is it that we are saying? We are human beings. We are not jackals. We are not frogs. We are not snakes. We are articulate. We are reasonable. We have got rationality. So the senses, remaining 5 in number, constantly fixed on the body, interact with the objects of the world, and all the objects interacted with are experienced as, suppose one elephant is big, another elephant is bigger. We are able to see them from a distance and we can easily point out this is bigger and this is smaller. Unless you experience the bigness in the 3-dimensional manner itself, how can you give such a verdict? So our mind is quite expansive. So he says, Indriyani paranyahuhu. Our senses are superior to the objects of the world. I see a curtain here, I see a wall there, so many lights are there. None of them sees me, but I see every one of them. So if my small eyes have to comprehend a large distance, an endless magnitude, then the eyes must have great power. Not only that, no object can thrust itself into my system. I even say, when Lord Mahavishnu comes before me and stands, I am closing my eyes, then Mahavishnu will have to beg of you, my dear Swamiji, I have come here, please open your eyes and see me. Suppose I don't open, Mahavishnu will have to go back unseen by me. What do you say? Yes or no? You are afraid, is it not? Mahavishnu will have to go back because I am not prepared to open my eyes. So unless I agree to employ my senses, no world or world object will ever be apprehended or experienced by me. So you tell me, are the senses superior to the objects or objects are superior? My audience does not react. What can I do? I will myself say senses are superior. I am also a listener. So my senses are superior to the objects. Now the equation doesn't end there. Indriyani paranyahuhu indriyebhyah param manaha. Superior to the senses is the mind, because the mind is to employ the senses and register the perceptions they bring about. So mind is the source, mind is the sustenance, mind also is the terminus and conclusion. Therefore the mind is superior to the senses. Manasastu para buddhihi. Superior to the mind is the intelligence, because that is the one which inquires, understands and finally gives directions, brings about corrections, sublimations, enrichments, elevations, expansions, etc. to the mind. Whenever something wrong is there, in any kind of an emotional flux or an emotional reaction or a response, the intelligence provides the right knowledge, rational knowledge. So that intelligence is superior to the mind. Does it all stop there? No. Yo buddhe paradastu saha. What is still superior to the intelligence, that is what you refer to as I. What? The I is a reference not to the body, it is my body. It is not to the mind, it is my mind. It is not to the intelligence, it is my intelligence. So the I stands distinct from all these three, the senses, mind and intelligence. If it is superior to even the intelligence, tell me what is its measure and magnitude? Huh? So while the human individual goes on rambling about, moving about in the world, is he moving about as somebody superior to the world or inferior to the world? This is a question I want you to analyze and answer. Never think. Cast aside all feelings of poverty, mental poverty. Never think yourself as a small, puny little creature, as a human being by the glory of our birth. All the four factors, senses, mind, intelligence, and still beyond, all of them are encased in our personality. Our personality is constituted of all superior elements, never inferior one. Whenever I tell you about excellence, fulfillment, etc., it is keeping such a great, enormous, indefinable potential and magnitude within your personality. Externally you may be poor. Externally you may be poor, but internally none is poor. I always ask a simple question. A rich man celebrates the marriage of his daughter, spending 10 crores of rupees. A poor family also celebrates the marriage of their daughter, spending about 5,000 rupees. Both of them have found a suitable groom for the children. And in the poor person's house, 50 or 60 people have come. In the rich man's place, about 5,000 people have come. Now when the marriage is celebrated, the mother looking on both at the daughter and the son-in-law, in the contentment and joy that both the mothers are feeling, is there any difference? I don't know what you will answer. What does it mean? What does it mean? For the mind to become contented, no external factor or association is necessary. We are taking to it, that's a different matter. The mind is an independent agent, an independent constituent. It's not matter, it is supramaterial, it is different from the body. It is its birthright to generate and preserve any degree of contentment as it wants. Teach the mind to become contented. Teach the mind to become excellent. Teach the mind to be austerely enriched. Teach the mind to be elevated always. Teach the mind to be expansive always. Never have or possess a small and a poor mind. Have a rich mind. A rich mind. I am a sannyasin, an ascetic, who has happily and by choice renounced all kinds of income, profession, everything renounced. Even the blood relations I renounced. And that was a joy, and that was a day of fulfillment for me. Can you imagine? Am I in any way deficient in my inner joy and fulfillment? I am floating in joy and ecstasy. I am always abundant in my mind so far as acceleration, fulfillment, ecstasy, etc. are concerned. Understand it very much. So these are the 5 factors. So whenever I speak about something, you should understand I am speaking about a very resourceful mind. Your mind is inaccessible to anybody in this world, only to you. Your mind cannot be accessed by anyone. I alone can know my thoughts, my feelings, my aspirations, my emotions, my right, my wrong. Others cannot so. Such an inaccessible treasure that you have, that the mind is a treasure, is the one story, is the one description made in all the epics. Now what does Sri Krishna say? Evam buddheh param buddhva samstabhya atmanam atmana jahi shatrum mahabaho kamarupam durasadam. The working formula I am providing. What is that? Evam buddheh param buddhva. If you are able to land yourself in your knowledge pursuit, that which is superior to your intelligence, is it outside or inside? Is it close to you or is it distance from you? Very close to you, closer than intelligence. If you are able to understand it, assess its magnitude and potential, then samstabhyatmanam atmana. You can regulate your personality, reform and refine it, improve it to any extent. What is personality improvement? Eliminating all the undesirable elements and incorporating all the desirable ones, and know what is undesirable and desirable from right exposure like the ones we are providing here. Now when samstabhya atmanam atmana, the message of Bhagavad Gita is uddhared atman atmanam natmanam avasadayet. We are born here to elevate ourselves by our own effort, by our own mind, by our own will, by our own intelligence. So you have to elevate yourself, not to lower yourself. Uddhare atmana atmanam. Elevate yourself by yourself. Never lower yourself at all. Let the outer situation be anything. Our mind has got power to assimilate it in an enriching manner. When whatever is eliminated by the mind, I am not asking you to eliminate, to assimilate what? This is something that I would like to tell you. How to take you along with me when I speak. When the senses interact with the objects in any front, maybe in a professional front, in a domestic front, in a societal front, or in any other front, when the senses are interacting, we have resulting experiences. These experiences are mind-born, intelligence-born. Am I clear? No. When I see an elephant, does the elephant get into my system? So no external object at any point of time enters physically into your mind to cause an experience. So whenever I speak of assimilation by the mind has to assimilate only mind's own reactions and responses. I don't know whether I am clear in explaining it. See, whenever you have to assimilate, the assimilation is not mind assimilating 5 kilograms of stone. No. Mind is not going to assimilate any material products. Mind has to assimilate only its own responses, reactions. So it has to assimilate its thought, it has to assimilate its emotion. So the unwelcome and the undesirable ones can be assimilated. The welcome ones can also be assimilated and generated. So the twin process of eliminating the undesirable and incorporating or imbibing the desirables, it should continue to be in our life. Now, what is the one thing to be detected and removed in our personality? Vasishtha has this much to say. These are verses from Gita. I go back to Yoga Vasishtha now. Ayamevahamityasmin sankoje vilayam gate samasta bhuvanam vyabi vistara upajayade. I wish you all know Sanskrit. That is the one language of India. I have one suggestion. I would like to make it here also. I am told that we have about 1.5 or 5.5, two versions are there, lakhs of people in India speaking Sanskrit. Let us acquire in a very safe part of India about 5,000 acres of land and try to bring all the Sanskrit speaking people there and make them stay and let them go on speaking Sanskrit, articulate in Sanskrit. When the number increases and more, it should be very well done. It should be a superb city with all modern comforts and conveniences. I don't want that austerity there now, physical austerity. Only intellectual austerity I want to have, sattvic. And when people have started and it has started growing in number, then we will say we would like to be a state and declare Sanskrit to be an official language of that particular state. Are there intellectuals and nationals in this assembly who can pick up this idea and develop it into a reality? I am not expecting it to be made day after tomorrow. I will give you enough time, 25 years, but you should start. Rome was not built on a day, but building certainly began one day. So it should be begun. So, ayamevahamityasmin sankoche vilayam gate samasta bhuvanavyabihi vistara upajayate. We all suffer from a constriction. On the first day after listening to my talk, a listener, very serious listener who has come here from Kozhikode told me, Swamiji, how to get rid of these selfish constrictions from our mind. We are not a human if we are not able to dissolve our ego and dispense with our unwelcome and dangerous constrictions. Let us be very clear. A human life is not meant for eating, dressing, mating and sleeping. It is meant for enriching, empowering, elevating our mind, intelligence and ego. We have a constriction. I am this body and the body's relationship alone is mine. Your body and your family members cannot thrive except in the context of a surrounding society. The society cannot be there except upon the earth. The earth cannot be there if the surrounding planets and heavenly bodies are not there. So you as an individual are irresistibly related to the surroundings, environments, the endless universe. When are you going to have this universal, expansive feeling and assessment about your own personality? So he says, when this sankoja, this constriction is dissolved, samasta bhuvana vyabhi vistara upajayade. There will arise an expansion in you which will be as extensive as the universe. Why don't you spend every day, come out of your house, look into the sky and go on looking at. The same eyes were looking at the walls of your house. Lift the eyes and see. What will be the expansiveness? Will it not equally get reflected in your mind? Boliye na? Huh? Look at the sky is reflected and felt. You say, I am looking at the expansive sky. It's an experience. That experience is begotten from the mind, provided by the mind. So the mind becomes expansive. So go on reflecting upon the space. Go on reflecting upon what is superior to the intelligence. Then an expansion will take place. Physically, I agree that you are small. But inwardly, you are far greater. Do you agree or not? Everyone? Physically you are small. Suppose you are physically big. How can you live in a house? So physically we have to be small. Otherwise we cannot sit even with so many chairs here. So physically as small as possible is best. But mentally as big as possible to comprehend, to contain, to include everything in this universe. This is the path of expansion. My dear youngsters, understand that you are born here to culture a mind which will develop a universal dimension. A universal dimension. The Gita dialogue is based upon this analysis. The analysis of the human personality, where you are told the senses are superior to the objects, mind is superior to the senses, intelligence is still superior and loftier, and there is still something the most high, namely that which you denote by the term I. Now see how Krishna raises Arjuna from an emotional outburst to a rational sublimity and elegance. He was crying and weeping, and he only said, this is not sympathy, this is weakness. Instantly, from the emotional conflict, the emotional outburst that Arjuna was on, suddenly he started inquiring. Am I clear? Huh? The same thing will happen to you. How long can we cry? What is this crying and crying and crying? A limited crying, I agree, it's good, it's ventilation, very good. But you cannot cry for a long time. For what purpose? I really don't understand. The world has its own course, and your life also has its own course. What is there to be grieved at? So Arjuna began to question. Katham bhishmamaham sankhe dronam cha madhusudana ishubhik pratiyotsyami puja arha varisudana. I will not speak anything in terms of sympathy for all the people, but you have stationed my chariot Krishna right in front of Bhishma and Drona. Bhishma is adorable, adorable. The moment I see Bhishma and Drona, I must fall at their feet, worship them, ask for blessings. Even now they don't hate me. I certainly do not hate them. I depend upon their mercy and blessings. Such people, even if you say and I want, how can I fight? Ishubhihini pratiyotsyami. How can I discharge counter arrows at them? Pujarha varisudana. They are worshipable. So this is a moral question that he is raising. After said, there are many other things also. He said, I have no time, I won't refer to them. So from the crying Arjuna, you are now taken to an inquiring Arjuna. This is how our mental plane gets reformed and elevated to the rational level. My dear souls, you have to be thoughtful. Thoughtfulness is what makes a man. Inquiry is what makes a better man. You must always be given to evaluation. Am I living the right way? Are my actions right and proper? Are they beneficial or are they harmful? Am I constricted? Am I selfish? Submit your own mind to an examination by the superior called the intelligence. You need nobody's help. Be true, be honest. Integrity, intelligence and industry are considered to be the pillars on which economic progress can be built. The greatest economists have discovered this. I was given a paper. Intelligence has a place, industry has a place. Industry means industriousness, not the industrialist. And then integrity. These are very important pillars of economic stability. We should always be like that. From the mental plane, we should elevate to the intelligence plane. So Arjuna identifies his difficulty and he calls it Karpanya dosha. Karpanya dosho bhagata swabhavaha pruchhami tvam dharma sammudha cheta yat shreyasyan nishchitam bruhitan me shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. See how soon his intelligence became activated. Krishna, by providing an exhortation, a timely exhortation, suddenly aroused, activated and instilled his intelligential activity. So he says, I am suffering from a dosha, a defect. What is that? Karpanya. Will you remember this word? Karpanya. Katharyata. That means narrow-mindedness. Narrow-mindedness. The mind is not narrow, it's very expansive and broad, but you only consider it to be narrow and it functions in a narrow manner. So narrowness is the defect I am suffering from, and therefore I am not able to understand what is proper and improper for me. Nevertheless, I know something. What is that? Yat shreyasya nishchitam bruhitan me. He says that, tell me what will give me, bestow on me everlasting fulfillment. Tell me whether Bhagavad Gita is a gospel for professionally excellent people or not. Yet shreyasya. Prayas means something immediately pleasant. Shreyas means everlastingly fulfilling, everlastingly good and fulfilling. What is that shreyas? Please let me know. I am a disciple, I have surrendered before you, please instruct me, he says in a very formal manner. Now, Arjuna does not stop there. He also defines what he means by shreyas very beautifully. Nahi prabhasyami mamapanudyat yatshogamutshoshanamindriyanam avapya bhuma vasapatna mriddham rajyam suranam api chadhipatyam. So many of you are seated before me, and I am giving an extempore talk, very good. But I want to make sure that whatever is conveyed is understood, reflected, and at least an yearning is there to possess these qualities. That how shall I make sure? So I must get you in closer quarters, and not with so much of eloquence, but certainly with a definite deep conveyance, I would be able to tell you and make you understand and accept. Here I don't know whether it will be possible because it's a public lecture. So he says here, Arjuna says, Krishna, never tell me two things. What is that? Somehow you fight and win the war. Then you will become prosperous and you can enjoy a bounteous earth. Don't tell me that. I am not interested in any such material welfare or prosperity. Am I clear? Then there is another religious prospect. What is that? If I happen to die in the war, I will be rewarded heaven after death. Both these I am not interested in. By shreyas, by fulfillment, what I mean is that my body and the senses are being scorched by grief. This grief should be eliminated. Doubt should be dissolved. I must have the brilliance of clarity. I must have the ecstasy of enlightenment. I must have an abiding joy, delight and fulfillment as provided by the mind and intelligence. Do you understand what is fulfillment now? This has been a very specific statement by Arjuna. So whenever we refer to fulfillment, mind you, we are shifting our emphasis from the sensory external sphere to the internal mento-intellectual sphere. Experiences accrue there. Knowledge emerges from there. A memory is preserved from there, issues forth from there. The body is only a medium like shirt. You are putting on a shirt to cover your body for a facile life, that's all. But the shirt doesn't do anything for us. It's an adornment, you can say, a utility, you can say. But the real functioning elements or constituents are the mind and the intelligence. So I want to know what is that everlasting fulfillment. Then Krishna starts speaking. Now I have got Arjuna the way I want. He is now ready. He is inquiring about a kind of an everlasting fulfillment as different from the victory in war for which he obtained the Pashupadastra. Now he understands war and victory are far distant. He has got an immediate need for fulfillment, after gaining which he must be able to perform this war in an excellent manner. So Arjuna is becoming a seeker of excellence. I want to fight this war in a very excellent and effective manner. But this excellence and effectiveness will not be possible unless my mind becomes full in its own manner. Now it is shattered, it is victimized, it is oscillating, it is swinging, it is extremely shaken. No. I want to have poise. I want to have stability. I want to have clarity. I want to have enlightenment. I also want to have the joyfulness I seek for, the extinction of misery and the emergence of continuing joy. This is what I want. So the fulfillment is very clear from here. So he arouses and activates the mind of Arjuna. How can he do it? Only with the help of the tool called intelligence. So he is approaching the intelligence and questioning it. Do you understand this? Is it clear? See, ashocyananvashojastvam prajnavadamscha bhashase gatasu agatasumscha nanushojanti pandita. Arjuna's question was, how shall I fight? Now he gives a question, he makes a statement, Krishna, ashocyan anvashojaha. Arjuna, you say you are suffering from grief. About whom? How to fight Bhishma and Drona in a merciless, painful manner. Now let me tell you, Bhishma and Drona are standing right in your front. They must also be thinking about in the manner you think. You are not their enemy. They are not your enemy. They love you. You love them. In spite of it, they have come there to occupy the commanding positions in the opposite army. And standing there, look at their faces. Do they grieve? No. Are they shaky? No. Do they have any disturbance? Does the face indicate anything? No. When they have no problem, why are you having problem? Ashocyan anvashojaha. You are grieving over those people who should not be grieved at all. So I question your very grief. It is uncalled for, unjustified. When Bhishma and Drona are grieving, I will allow you to co-grieve. As long as they are not grieving, you have no right to grieve. Maximum you can inquire, why is it that they are not destabilized as I am? So something must be there, a greater possession, an enrichment, a vision or an insight or an outlook they must have. Let me have the same outlook so that I can also be stable. So it can be a very patient inquiry in this manner. Instead of that, you are crying, weeping, you have laid down the weapons and you have declared, I will not fight. What is all this, Arjuna? Just think about it. Think about it. Ashocyananvashojastvam prajnavadamscha bhashase. But you are speaking like a scholar, like a big pandit. This cannot be accepted. So, in the war, what is going to happen? 45 lakhs of warriors were present there. All except 10 were supposed to die in the course of 18 days. So, death is always a terror and a matter of doubt and fear for people. So, Krishna first of all gives a beautiful point of view about death. I can skip this portion, but I thought many of you will need it, because I don't think that all of you are ready to die. Are you? When somebody else dies, then also you are not happy. So the death has to be resolved in our mind. How many people are ready to die here? Can you lift your hands? Without any problem I can die. 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, at least that much good. I think life is very miserable for them. So he says, Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha deham prapti dhirastatra namuhyadi. Arjuna, the entire Prakriti is transforming. Kshane kshaneyam navatamupaidi tadeva rupam ramaniyataya. This Prakriti is constantly changeful, transforming, fleeting. This constant changefulness is its beauty. What is Ramaniyata, Saundarya or beauty? It is constantly changing. If you find a flower and every time the color is changing, will it not be much more beautiful than lily and rose and lotus? No. Yes or no? That is what Prakriti is doing. So what is birth? From the womb to the mother earth. And the child does not remain the same. It grows from the childhood to either boyhood or girlhood, then adolescence, then youth, then old age, and finally what will it do? You want your body to continue to live for 1,000 years? Huh? After some time it has to fall. So that is the last transformation. So never call death. There is nothing called death at all. There is no destruction, there is no loss at the time of death. It is only dehamtara praptihi. It is begetting another body because this body has lived at least for a few years. You will get a fresh body. Not you, whoever is there. Dhiras tatra namuhyadi. The wise man will never be deluded about death. So you have to understand it as a dehamtara praptihi. A promotional transition. This is the definition of death. Now Srimad Bhagavata says, I would like you not to be afraid of death at all from today onwards, from this moment onwards. Because death is not different from sleep. Every day you die, but you only wake up the next day. But death is that kind of an interminable sleep from which you will never wake up. So all our troubles are till death. When somebody dies, he has slept forever. Mrityuhu atyandam ismritihi. Absolute, interminable forgetfulness. And what is the point of view about death, if you ask me? If you are all people looking for excellence. So the excellentiality with regard to life and death, it is mentioned here by Krishna in Uddhava Gita, about which the Sampreshana series it is going on. That Sampreshana, Mahajnana Satram from 6:15 to 6:45. I was specifically asked that I should give an in-depth exposition of the last message of Krishna. That is why I took it up, though I have no time for the actually speaking. Na abhinamde dhruvam mrityum adhruvam vabhijividam. Do not prefer or like or love either to die or to live. What? Na abhinamde dhruvam mrityum. Death is definite, therefore it doesn't call for your love or additional importunity. You need not. It is definite for everybody. And so far as life is concerned, it is indefinite. So don't like life, do not equally like death. So lift the mind from both and take it to a transcendental position and outlook. This is the point of view about death. Now Krishna gives a very beautiful definition of life, and that definition should look after all your quest for excellence. If you want to have a stable, all assimilating mind, if you want to have an intelligence which will be perceptive and always unearthing the line of propriety, the line of benevolence, the line of promotion, the line of elevation, expansion and crowning fulfillment, all that you want to have, understand life to be this. Here is a beautiful definition, only a 4-letter definition he has given. Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukhadukkadaha agamapayinaha anityaha tan tidikshasva bharata. What is this life? The life is an interaction between what? The senses on your body and the entire world objects around. If you have even one sensory organ, there will be interactions and life will be there. We have 5. When the senses come into contact with their respective objects, automatically a contact and interaction takes place. When dry firewood is brought near the fire, it will catch fire and start burning. Exactly in the same manner, the senses and the object, the interaction when they take place, that interaction has its own nature and quality. What is that nature and quality? Shitoshna sukha dukkha daha. They will always irresistibly bring about sukha and dukkha. Sukha means happiness, dukkha means misery, pleasantness and unpleasantness, joy and non-joy. But, what is that but? Agamapayinaha. These sukha-dukkhas are never going to be static. They are always transitory. They will come and they will go. If you ask them, dukkha, don't come, it will continue to come. Sukha, do not go, it will go. So they are given to coming and going, means emerging and subsiding in your mind. And therefore, they are not eternal, they are transitory. Being transitory, the right attitude towards them is one of assimilation, tolerance. Bas. So where have we reached now? We have reached from the broad canopy into only our own mind, which interacting with the world through the senses brings about constantly the alternating emotions called sukha and dukkha. Because they are constantly alternating, nothing need to be done. Sukha has come, after some time it will disappear. Then dukkha will come, after that dukkha also will go. So a sukha that is going to go off very soon, will you be happy about it? We generally say, a man is ordained for death. In half an hour he is going to be killed. So he is given a food. Malayalathil parayum kolachorana. Do you think that man will be able to eat that food properly? A sukha that is going to be terminated very soon, can you enjoy it very pleasantly? I don't know whether I am a little hard by bringing in this comparison. See, a sukha that is terminable, you cannot be really happy about it. Similarly, a dukkha, it has come. Not only that, think a little further about it. Who has brought this sukha? The previous dukkha has brought the present sukha. So should you not be grateful to dukkha? Why? It is the disappearance of dukkha that goes by the name sukha. So the sukha bringer was the dukkha. And this sukha will again take you to dukkha. So what is there? So the best will be to be tolerant about them, to have the right enlightenment and assessment and deal with them, assimilate them. Now by such assimilation, will you have a life of excellence and fulfillment? Krishna says yes 1,000 times. Yam hina vyathayandyede purusham purusharshabha samadukha sukham dhiram somrivatvaya kalpade. The man who practices an assimilative attitude towards sukha-dukkhas, he is the man earmarked for excellence and fulfillment. Am I clear? Do you accept? Or this is some kind of a distant philosophy? Yeah? I am speaking about your mind, your personality, the inner processes that take place within your body. I am not referring to anything outside at all. No heaven is there. No religion is there. It is philosophy because it is a rational and systematic analysis of a subject or a proposition. So it becomes philosophy. A philosophy of eating, a philosophy of walking, a philosophy of dressing, a philosophy of speaking. When any subject is dealt with in a rational, systematic manner, it becomes philosophy. So it is a philosophy of life, you can say, but certainly it is not a religion. I don't make it a religion at all. Whosoever mind is not shaken, upset, dislodged, disturbed, unduly tormented or afflicted by these alternates called sukha-dukkhas. How? Samadukha sukham dhiram. He develops an attitude of equalness towards both. Sukha and dukkha are inseparable from life. unavoidable from life. These are brought about by sense-object interactions. Therefore, being inevitable, I give a place to them in my mind. That's all. If this attitude is developed, neither is sukha preferable, nor is dukkha hateable. Both of them have an equal part. See, we are taking food, it is assimilated. And finally in the large intestines, foul-smelling stool is there, fecal matter is there. Both are not too much of distance. Here good food, here the other one. Both are equally necessary. In the same manner, I accept both. I develop an equal vision towards both. When that equalness towards them is had, sama dukkha sukham, that is the wise man. That is the excellent man. That is the man who is going to have perpetual, continuing, interminable fulfillment in his life. So the fulfillment that you look for, is it inner or is it outer? Is it something to be had after a course of activity and a tenor of performance? Or you can have a fulfilling and fulfillmental life. You know about this samadukha sukham dhiram? Vasishtha tells Sri Rama in a very beautiful manner. Even if you don't like to hear, I like to say. Because it is so sweet for me. Samadaya madaya gunashalinam purusharadihaya samalankrita tamamalam pranamanti narottama abhimahamunayo reghunandana. Yoga Vasishtha Ramayana contains very beautiful melodious verses as Ramayana itself. Whichever person or whoever is adorned, is decorated, so to say, by this mataya, by an intelligence which is given to a kind of an equalness, I don't want to call it equanimity, a kind of an equalness, an equal disposition, an equal acceptance, an equal assimilativeness towards both sukha and dukkha, he becomes the emperor amongst the human beings. Purusharadiga yassamalankrita tamamalam. He is considered to be the pure man. Why? The entire world with all its variety and infinitude. Do you mark my words? The entire world with its infinitude and variety. They enter through the five senses alone, and when they come to the mind, they just become repeated sukha-dukkhas. So what is the world in terms of our experiences? Pleasantness and unpleasantness. So where is the variety gone now? And the pleasantness and the unpleasantness can be dissolved by our mind by this equal perception. So that man becomes pure. And even the best of people, Narottama Abhimahamunaya, even the ascetics go and worship him. He is such a great, excellent man, carrying an abundance of fulfillment, ecstasy, fullness in his personality, only by an internal process, not by an external endeavor, not by amassing wealth, not by amassing something else, but by churning out this psycho-intellectual sublimity, psycho-intellectual refinement, psycho-intellectual transcendence. He is able to elevate his vision from the transitory pleasantness and unpleasantness sukha-dukkhas and install it as the center of both. Based on this, the formula to overcome all fear, sin and torment and yet live, strive very well. What is the method? He says, Buddhiyukto jahadiha ubhe sugrada dushkride. Buddhiyukta jahadiha ubhe sugrada dushkride. A person whose intelligence is unified with this perception, he abandons what? Sukrida and Dushkrida. He is no more a seeker of virtue and holiness. Are you hearing me? I have doubts. Because this is an inner treasure, a treasure. When you are able to embody the treasure, You are no more a seeker of piety, holiness, virtue and its reward. Let Swarga or heaven woo you. You will not woo it at all. Not at all. You are not afraid of a Naraga, a hell. Certainly not. Buddhiyuktaha jahatiha ubhe sugrada dushkride. Therefore, Arjuna, tasmad yogaya yujyasva naivam papamavapsyasi. Get up. It is not an abandonment of your bow and arrow that is called for. On the other hand, take it back, possess it, wield it, fight the war. Let your fulfillment be provided by your intelligence to the mind in an abundant measure. The whole war is going to confirm it, strengthen it, add to it, empower it further and further. All activities and interactions will only be additional enrichment, reinforcement, reconfirmation of what you have. The entire world cannot take away anything from you. It cannot give you also anything plus to your mind. It is your mind that makes and mars. Man is the architect of his fate, none else. We have got the intelligence, we have got the mind, we have got the senses. By this, employ them properly and let there be an integrated development. One formula that I want to say is, na prahirshyet priyam prapya no dvijet prapya cha priyam sthira buddhihi asammudhaha brahmaviti brahmanistitaha. These are all Gita verses. All that you have to do in your interaction. So the entire effort for excellence, for achievemental merits and also fulfillmental life is this. Na prahirshyet priyam prapya. Right from the morning till you go to bed, you will have so many pleasant things either to meet or hear or see. Do not be unduly delighted by anything. And equally so, do not be unduly depressed by anything. Take to a life of moderation. What did I say? Take to a life of moderation. And sublimate your mind constantly by the onslaughts of pleasantness and unpleasantness. Pleasantness, I am not going to unduly exult over it. Similarly, an excessive depression also I will not undergo. So I have got every day, every opportunity, moment after moment, I get a chance to reinforce myself with this self-sublimational process. No dvijet prapya cha priyam. And remain firm in this perception, analysis and evaluation. Sthira buddhihi, asammudhaha. Get rid of your delusion, distorted understanding. Brahmavidu, brahmanistitaha. Remain firm in your own self, superior to your intelligence. Remain firm. Bodily, I am seated on the chair. Can you tell me mentally where the mind is seated? Very strange, intriguing question, is it not? Your body is seated on the chair. The chair is seated on the platform or on the floor. And the floor is on the earth. The earth is surrounded by space. Let me know where your mind is seated. The mind is seated on the I, on the self. Understand that. Suhridmitrajyudasena madhyastadveshya bandhushu sadhushvapicha papeshu samabuddhir vishishyate. The interpersonal interaction is always a problem. So Bhagavad Gita has this much to say. Here is a beautiful verse. In your interaction in life, you will have to interact with different types of people. Suppose you have 4 children, 2 children you may not like also. They will not like you, you also don't like them. They are either substandard or overstandard. So there will always be good people, bad people, friends, non-friends, enemies, etc. Make an ample provision in your mind for all of them. Never get repelled. Don't undergo any hatred. There is a wonderful position of serenity for the mind, where as is in the world, so is in my life. Everyone has got a place in this world. Everyone should be provided a place in your mind, not in your house. Don't welcome anybody to your house, I don't want. But in your mind you will have to host everybody. That kind of a man, flexible man, comprehensive mind that you have, that is the best man, he says. Now, I would like to tell you a few points at the end. The summary of this discussion is, listen to me what I am saying. Don't have a small dimensioned mind. Try to have a bigger and a comprehensive mind. At present, perhaps your mind is a well-dimensioned mind. Well-dimensional mind. WELL. കിണറുണ്ടല്ലോ, ഒരു കിണർ മനസ്സാണ് ഇപ്പോൾ പലവർക്കും. From the well dimension you grow to at least the tank dimension. From there go to the lake dimension and at least rise to the sea dimension. The goal is a spatial mind. Understood? In bringing about this growth, you want only your own mind and your own intelligence and the right exposure. And confidently assimilate all impacts from the world, interactional outcomes. Your mind is powerful, resourceful, deep, lofty. It is not like the inert mirror, but the sentient consciousness. It's a sentient substance. That mind which makes you comprehend and feel the entire world, it can also assimilate all impacts. All impacts are produced by the mind alone. Cannot the waves be assimilated by the sea? So are not thoughts assimilated by the mind? So reactions also can be assimilated. So confidently assimilate all impacts from the world. Recognize that you as an individual already have what any other great person in this world had, has or will have. You have a body, you have a mind, you have an intelligence, you have an ego, and you have the supreme soul. What more do you want? In all your interactions, you, the interacting subject, are always greater than the interacted with world. Do I need any explanation for it? You, the interacting subject, are always greater than the world with which you interact. In terms of qualities, I would like you to have be an udara. Udara means what? Noble and lofty. Be udatta, have udattada, magnificence in you, and ujjvalata, brilliance and fervor. These things you have to generate. Udarata, ujjvalata and udattada. Never be miserly. Never be stingy. Be liberal. Be flexible. Be noble, great. The object always subsists on the subject. The object always subsists on the subject, but the subject never subsists on the object. Without the subject, there can never be an object. The world is an object and you are the subject. You forget the entire world, obliterate the entire world, and you go to sleep alone saying that I slept. Did you sleep with something else? No, I slept myself, forgetting everything, disconnected from everything. So the subject can remain sovereignly, independently. The object can only depend upon the subject. You are that subject. Whenever you are assimilating something good, bad or indifferent, that assimilation itself enriches you. So every day must be a day of self-enrichment for you. And being self-enriched, the next day you will be able to live and move in this world in an enriching manner to the world. By your individual performance, by your individual life, it should always be an enriching note to the world, not the enervating note. It cannot be. Then the potential, the magnitude and the possibility to ensure that you are getting enriched every day and you are enriched by your contribution to the world also, this is sufficiently there in you. And the last message I have to tell you is, become a Mahakarta and a Mahabhokta. These are Yoga Vasishta Ramayana, our Vasishta Dev's words. Be a magnificent performer. Be a magnificent performer and be a magnificent enjoyer and be a magnificent sufferer. The capacity of the mind should increase to this much. What? Just imagine 45 lakhs of warriors are going to lose their life. So it was a treacherous sight, but Arjuna was able to contain it and perform the war. Krishna had to kill his own uncle when he was very young. When circumstances drive you to such a level, we have to have. Our mind is not lacking in anything. It has got spiritual, infinite resources within. So become a mighty performer, a mighty enjoyer, and a mighty sufferer, and a magnificent assimilator of all. This is the only course available for personal fulfillment and an excellential pursuit of whatever you propose to do. Don't wait for excellence to be an outcome at the end of a performance. Be excellential, given to the thought, culture and display of excellence. Be excellential. Let the whole world say, here is an excellential man. And whatever you take up, do it in an excellential manner. And it is possible. Bhagavad Gita always uses a particular word, sarva bhuta hite rasaha, rataha. Be benevolent. Be interested in the welfare of all. And ultimately I conclude it with one verse from Yoga Vasishta Ramayana. Purne manasi sampurnam jagat sarvam sudhadravaihi. Purne manasi sampurnam jagat sarvam sudhadravaihi. When your mind becomes abundant and full, the whole world becomes full. It is something like wearing a leather chapel and walking about so that everywhere is leather. Not that you go and purchase all the leather available and go on spreading it on the earth. It's not possible. So when the mind becomes full, the entire world becomes laden with nectar. Do you agree or not? Purne manasi sampurnam jagat sarvam sudhadravaihi upanad gudhapadasya nanu charmastrudaiva bhu. Now, I am wondering whether we have discussed the subject of personal fulfillment and professional excellence, at least in a functional manner, in a beneficial manner. I tell you, every word that I have said is true of the human mind, human intelligence, human character, human behavior, human interaction and human potentials. There is no word which is untrue, irrelevant or inapplicable. It is for you to understand these in the same manner and spirit, imbibe, finally display it also, so that the entire world will be benefited. I am very happy that I have had a 3-day interaction with you in the form of this lecture series, the Center for Inner Resources Development. As the caption itself indicates, it has arranged this series with the help and cooperation of Trichurians, Chinmaya Mission and the others. Maybe the organizers may have something to tell you, listen to them, and we will conclude it ultimately with the Om chanting, before that a concluding verse. I embrace all of you mentally, and I also bless you to have a very good performantially, excellently a performantial life, and by virtue of your performance and pursuit, make sure that the society at large, the world at large is benefited. Shed your constrictions, may you have a broad and universally expansive mind. Never fear, have confidence, radiate it, display it. Be not poor in this, extremely rich. May you have all inner enrichment, empowerment, elevation, expanse, enlightenment and fulfillment. Harihi Om Tats Jai Guru. One very good question has been given to me by Mr. Vijayan. The question is very good, well written also. Normally I would have answered it, but in this kind of a lecture series, I don't invite questions because there is no time and one person's questions may not generally liked by all. So I would like any questions to be raised. You can come to our ashram, discuss with me. I will be able to spend more time, because in answering a question, it is not merely the question, but the questioner also. So I may require time to pacify or fulfill his requirement, etc. So I am not answering. Shall I conclude it now? कर्तव्यमस्ति न ममेह न किञ्चिदेव स्थातव्यमित्यति मनः भुवि संस्थितोऽस्मि संशान्तया सततसुप्तधियैव वृत्त्या कार्यं करोमि न च किञ्चिदहं करोमि कार्यं करोमि न च किञ्चिदहं करोमि. Harihi Om, Harihi Om, Harihi. All of you may sit erect, close your eyes, open the mouth as well as the heart. Chant the concluding Om. I would like this to radiate and permeate the entire universe in an austerely sublime and effective manner. Harihi Om. That's Jai Guru. Jai Guru.